Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow Ear Shoulder Voice on YouTube and Facebook, or visit our website at www.earshouldervoice.com.
We've got to work together.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Ear Shoulder Voice. One of the greatest things you can ever do as a parent is how to raise your child and doing a good job at it and making sure you do everything right. But you know, children are not always the most open people. They often have a problem understanding what you're trying to say, listening to you, but it's not just them. Sometimes you have a hard time understanding what your children want, what they need from you. Even what they're expressing doesn't always match what they're feeling or what's inside. And it works both ways. And that's what we're going to do today. Today we're going to talk about parent-child communication, how it is trying to communicate with a child that maybe doesn't respond as well to you, that maybe you don't know, maybe they're lashing out for some reason. But at the same time, we're going to try to figure out why you don't always understand what they want and they don't understand what you want. It's a joint thing. It's people working together for a common cause. And we always like when people work together, like our panel. All right, we're going to bring on our first panelist. Please welcome back to the show, Lenny. Lenny, how you doing?
Hello. How are you?
I am absolutely amazing. I always say fantastic, so I'm doing amazing this time. I am doing amazing. Looking forward to tonight's show. I know you definitely are a unique person in this situation. Communication is not always the easiest thing for you. So tell me, how is your life different when it comes to this topic?
Well, I have 3 boys, and my oldest is 31, so he's not a kid anymore. But he was just obnoxious, and our communication was like. But then I had 2 other boys, and they're both autistic, and they didn't speak, so I had to learn how to communicate with them in a different way. So that was a whole new adventure, trying to figure out what they needed, what they wanted, and for them to try to have any sort of conversation with me when they didn't have any voice. So it was different. Yeah.
Well, yeah, your situation is definitely different, but in a sense it's the same too, because a lot of other kids just say things that they're not wanting. Right. You know, people who do not have those issues, and you still have to go through that puzzle of trying to figure it out sometimes. You said with your first one, that was partly an issue too, because you were like at each other's throats.
Yeah, I was like, I always apologized to him because I wasn't ready to have children. And so I just always said, I'm sorry, he was just a big old experiment for me.
We were just trying. We're seeing how it worked out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I bet you wouldn't change it for the world, and that's what really counts. You know.
Yeah.
We're going to bring our next panelist, Nikki. Welcome back, Nikki.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Hello.
So, how are you doing, Nikki?
I'm good. Getting into the holiday spirit.
Bah, humbug.
Hey, it's too
already
early to be the.
You don't have enough time to be tired of it. Yeah.
Right. I figured we've had so much funk, we needed some extra joy this year. So.
Yeah.
That is so true. We need so much joy this year.
I know.
And part of the joy is learning how to communicate with your child. So.
Yeah. Such the joy.
So has that ever been an issue for you, Nikki?
I mean, yeah, it's, I don't have the extra challenges that Lenny does, but teenagers in themselves, children in themselves are a challenge. It's hard to know, when they don't know how to communicate with us, it's hard for us to learn how to figure out what they need,
Yeah, how old are your kids again?
So the ones that are at home are 17, 16, and 14. So they're at the age, they're coming into the age where they think they know they think they have all the answers.
Yeah.
They're very independent for themselves. And, at this point in their lives, it's my job to just kind of guide them.
Yeah, you hit that milestone there where it's more gonna let you make your own decisions, but I'm gonna tell you pre-hand they're not smart.
Right. Right. So,
all right, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right, we got another panelist coming in for you. Please welcome back Gabe. Gabe, what's
Hello.
going on?
Gabe.
How are you?
Absolutely, amazingly, fantastic, unbelievably wonderful.
Good.
So,
Excellent.
Gabe, you've got children, of course. How old are yours?
I just have the one, and she's almost 7.
Almost 7 years old. So we've definitely got a rounded area of dealing with children and their problems. And also, we're going to talk about how sometimes maybe we make mistakes too, and how we interpret it on there. So, what do you think some of the biggest challenges have been with your daughter?
With me, kind of like Lenny, when you have that extra sort of facet of doubt, I think that sort of leans towards, okay, is she acting this way just because of the symptoms that she suffers from, or is it just regular, she's 6, sort of a thing? So that gauge sometimes is a little bit harder to sort of maneuver when, like, for instance, mine, she has epilepsy, so she's on this medication. So it's starting at 2, she was on this stuff called Keppra. And it was a small dosage, but she was very much, when she had fits, it would get to the point where she would not calm down. And this is at 2. That no matter what we tried to take away from her or whatever, whenever she got mad, it was just absurd. And then we started looking it up, and of course there's side effects to this. And it was, and there was actually called Keppra Rage, where these kids are using this stuff, getting having homicidal thoughts, stuff like that. Right, at 2. So it's like, okay, so let's switch her off of this stuff. So we got her on a different medication, more balanced out, and now she's just a regular brat. So.
Well, that's good. You get to deal with the regular Brad, and obviously it wasn't that case for the change. Bill says, he's asking, of course, is it January 10th yet? You got 5 more weeks before that, Bill. It will happen. We will be here. And hello, Bill. Glad to have you on here.
Hi, Bill.
I've got somebody else I'm going to be bringing in right now, but I'm not sure if they're actually connected. I see that they don't have any video, but they might be on audio, so if they're not here, they're not here. And Zach, are you here? Well, I don't think you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
He's unmuted.
How you
he's
doing,
up.
Zach?
Hi, Zach.
I'm good.
So, Zach.
Hi.
You're good. So, I don't know if you heard so far today's topic. We're talking about parent-child communications. And I'm out of curiosity, Zach.
Yep.
What are some of the issues you deal with trying to get your mom to understand stuff? If you want, we can hide her so she doesn't have to be on here.
Let's just get rid of Nikki.
Okay,
And we'll just take
there
that.
now. Tell me.
Okay, she's not here now.
It's a tough one.
It is
Tough
tough.
one.
We'll give you
Really?
time to think about it.
He's eating
You guys are
candy.
cutting in and out.
He is.
Really bad.
Okay, well, we're gonna keep you periodically
me?
here. Yeah, we can hear you. So if you got something to add, feel free to message on there. We're gonna bring you in and out periodically. We're gonna talk a little bit. We'll bring you back in. So try to think of some things you have issues with, things you have a hard time getting them across, because we want your opinion on this. We want actually the point of view of the kids as well, or the children.
And Zach, the nice part is we'll be on your side.
Yeah, we will be. All right, Zach.
All right.
So we're gonna bring you back in a little bit. Just stay tight, and we'll talk to you shortly. All right. So that was Zach, and one of you is Zach's mother. Again, it's not me or Gabe.
At least I
I can tell
think
you
not.
that much. I think not. I think I would remember that, and I think I would still be in pain from it. If that
Yeah,
was
you
the
guys
case.
don't get to take credit for that one.
My movie,
I'm not trying to. Trust me. Trust me on that. All right. So as far as communicating to your kids, what do you think one of the hardest things is to get across to your kids? It's a basic everyday life skill that they think you're more torturing them with. Whether it be like chores, responsibility, priorities, anything like that.
Homework.
School, homework in school. Why do you think it's hard to get the homework across to
Well, okay, I have 3 boys, so homework with my oldest son was an hour worth of arguing for 10 minutes worth of homework. It drove me bat poop crazy.
them? You can say shit, Lenny. It's okay.
I mean, it made me nuts, the stuff that he would do. I mean, it was just like pulling teeth for him to do 10 math problems or write his spelling words or anything of that sort. It was horrible. Just hated it.
What was his issue with it? Do you know? Like, did he just not like it? Was it too hard, too easy?
Okay. He was lazy.
So his was actual laziness.
Bottom line, I have a story on him. I hope he's watching. Okay, so when he was a very big kid. I mean, he's 6'4". When he was 12, he was 6'1", 200 pounds. He looked like a man. So it was very difficult to not treat him like he was older than what he was. But the thing is he was really good in sports. Okay. And he decided as soon as basketball and football was done, actually this was 8th grade, basketball and football was done, he didn't have to do any more homework because that didn't matter in 8th grade, his GPA for, sports future, okay? So all of his teachers bombarded me one time in school and told me he wasn't handing in any of his work, he wasn't doing anything and all this and that. Well, when he said that to me, he said, "Mom, it doesn't matter." I'm like, "Really? It doesn't matter?" And I made him do summer school in Sylvan, and then I took him to Sylvan, and they tested him, and he tested 2 grades higher than where he was. And I was so mad at him because he just didn't want to do his homework. It's called lazy.
That's not
it
called
made me
lazy.
crazy.
I think that there's a problem. That's not lazy because I had that issue too. I didn't like doing it. Go ahead, Nikki, because I think you're going to be along the same lines as I am.
Yeah, my son had a similar problem. That's actually a sign that it is too easy for them.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
not-
too easy.
not challenging
it's
them,
boring.
it's boring.
Exactly.
That mixed with, a lot growing up, you sort of get implanted with these ideas that all I really have to do is, I can get a free ticket to this point if I'm really good at sports and scholarships and things like that, and I could use that over academia, you know what I mean? So it could have been sort of half and half between him either not being challenged enough, and plus, I mean, he's young and good at sports, so I think it could have been a combination.
An extension of that, I think, too, is that when you say it's too easy, like, so easy, why do you do it? And what Gabe is saying is a right point there, because you're so focused that sports is going to carry you where you want to go, that the other work seems tedious.
Yeah,
it is too easy, so why the hell am I doing this shit that I already know?
Right.
And that's one thing for anybody watching, because this is to tell you how we handle situations and stuff like that. Feel free to engage with us. We'll get to your comment in a minute, Bill. If your kid goes in and tests higher than where they are, it typically is a challenge thing. Because that was my issue growing up as far as getting schoolwork done. I didn't want to do any of it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know at the time that it was because it was easy. But when they did that and I started getting work that did challenge me more, I enjoyed what I was doing. I felt like I was learning. I felt like I was getting somewhere with that. And that changed my outlook a lot. Bill's, go ahead, Lenny.
No, I just said,
Yeah, it's hard to see when you're in that situation. Mm-hmm. It really is. Bill just said trying to tell your kid that they can tell you anything when they have a problem. I think every parent goes through this to a point. We'll start with you, Nikki, because I'm sure you tell your kids, and as you said before, you can tell them anything, right?
Yeah, I mean.
But they don't.
No, I mean, they're definitely keeping some stuff. I think it's comfort, kind of a comfort thing, but wanting to have privacy, like have their own thing.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to continue on Bill's comment in 1 second. I'm going to bring in Danny. Danny, how you doing? Danielle,
"Hi,
good to see you.
Danielle."
I'm good.
We didn't
Got
ask
big old
how you were. We
headphones
just said
on my
hi.
head. Oh,
Good
you
to
didn't?
see you. No, now we did. How you doing,
Someone
Danielle?
said it.
Okay, I probably did. I don't
Good.
remember. I'm drinking. It could be. I don't know. So how you doing, Danielle?
Probably.
So how many kids do
Good,
you
ready
have?
to eat some food. 2.
2. How old are they?
One is going to be 10 on December 22nd, and the other one is 6.
Well, happy early birthday to your 10-year-old coming up, which is awesome. So, yeah, we've got them all across the spectrum of teenagers right now, which is awesome, including Zach. Zach, I'm about to bring you back on in because I want you to respond a little bit to Bill's question here. So Zach, unmute yourself if you're muted yourself.
He
don't
was
know if you did.
he was texting me on Facebook saying his phone was.
Oh,
about
that's
to
why.
die.
So we'll get back to him in a
die,
second because
yeah.
I want him to respond on that. Have him let you know when he's ready, and I'll bring him back in.
Okay.
So Danielle, one of the things that Bill asked and we're talking about is trying to get your kid to tell you anything when they have a problem, but yet kids don't do it. Do you run into that issue at all? I know at 10 years old you're probably not hitting that point yet.
Yeah, actually, I have. My kid's a little beyond his years.
Oh, okay.
A little too much. Smarter than me some days. But, no. I think, well, growing up when he was little, I would tell him, no, don't do this, don't do that, you know. And I had to stop doing that because then he was afraid to do anything. So I kind of just let him kind of go with the flow. And unless it's something that's dangerous, or, hi, Bill, unless it's dangerous or like an immediate need for something, I kind of just let them do like a trial by error type thing. And then for them to not want to come to me, I haven't really completely experienced that, but if they know they did something wrong, that they know that I've already told them not to do, or something simple even, they're going to try to hide it. Like my son's biggest problem is he goes in the cupboard, we have a pantry that has tons of junk food, and he will bring it into his room and eat it in his room and hide all the wrappers all around his room, not realizing that I'm the one that goes and cleans his room.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of one thing. He won't come to me and tell me, oh, I did this, you know. So
he
it's kind
won't
of
tell
little
on
petty
himself
stuff.
either.
No.
Yeah.
I wish he
Well,
would. My daughter
the start.
does.
And I think that is the start with a lot of kids, is because when they do first starting to tell you things, to be honest, it's things they did wrong. So they get a little bit of association with there's punishment behind doing these things.
Exactly.
Zach, I don't know if you're out there, but you're muted right now. Feel free to unmute yourself when you want. We do have a couple questions for you along those lines. And Nikki might expand on. All right, I already asked you, Nikki. Linny, I want to go to that one. Try and tell your kid they can do anything when they have a problem. How hard has that been for you?
Trying to tell them that they can do anything. Well, I was
Or
very...
they can tell you anything if they have a problem.
Yeah. With my oldest son, that is not autistic, when he was young, I just sat him down and said, I know that you are going to drink. I know you're going to smoke. I know you're going to dabble with, you know, whatever the other kids are doing and everything else. I said, I want you to go ahead. I know you're going to have sex, but I want you to know that I know that you're going to do these things and it's okay. But you cannot do them outside. You can't drink. If you want to drink, you know, do it at home. If you want to do any of that kind of stuff. So if we'd have parties and things as he got older, and I knew if they're going to have beer and stuff, but every single kid that would come over, I would talk to their parents and I would say, if they're not leaving here, if I think that they have drank anything, they're staying here. So I would, and it was good. We had a really good communication with all of that. Not that they're supposed to do it, but I know they're going to do it, and I didn't want anybody drinking and driving and leaving my house. So it kind of became like Stifler's mom. Seriously.
I think that's a difference in mothers and fathers, too, that I've seen. And it doesn't go for all of them. But I think that is a big difference. I think mothers, like, I know you're going to be doing this. I want you to do it. But I want to control the situation a little bit. And I think that's where fathers are just like, we know you're going to do it. I don't want to hear about it. Just be safe. You know, and I think there's a different view there a lot of times. I don't know with Gabe. I want to ask because you've got a daughter. Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
That's one of yours. He can't hear
You
us,
need to
but
be
we
in
said
here?
hi.
Oh, I'm in his room, his
Oh,
area.
you're in his room?
I'll
You're
leave.
invading his room.
I'm coming over
Hi,
here.
baby.
I'm not leaving. See how that goes?
All
I'm
right,
not
Gabe,
leaving.
I
I'm
know you
sitting
got to
over
go
I'm
for
here.
a
saying-
second.
No, I'm saying goodnight.
Okay.
Hi, baby. Okay.
Okay, I do think that is one thing with the guys. Now, Gabe,
No,
you've
I
got
can,
the
You're
daughter.
bleeding through.
You've got the daughter, Gabe. Do you think, which approach do you think you're going to take when that time comes? Do you think you're going to be more that dad is, you know, I know you're going to do it, I don't want to know, but if any guy touches you, I'm going to beat the fuck out of him? Or,
Yes. Yes. I'm definitely the protector and the disciplinarian. You know, I'm trying to, you know, teach her what is the way to survive and a crazy world. So I'm definitely, I'm trying to walk that line right now with her, and then my wife is definitely more of the one she goes to for fun, and when
Now, do you think that's more harm or not? And that's one thing I've always wondered with the guy's view on the daughter. I haven't dealt with that one. Do you think it's more harmful to say if a guy touches you or you're going to instill that in him that daughter's just going to be like, I'm not going to bring a guy around then? Your assumption's going to go too far, whether he's a good guy or not.
Well, I'm gonna sort of teach more of go down the lines of character more than anything else. And if someone, I don't care who comes to my door to see my daughter, as long as they're not a complete and utter loser, as far as into drugs or has no type of goals or anything like that, or no personality, someone who who's a bully or doesn't treat people well. That is what I am going to point out more than anything, and I will have no qualms about doing that.
Well, that's probably a smart move because we are at a little advantage with our children now. As when we were young, we were having sex at a much earlier age. I'm not saying everybody on the panel, but our generation was having sex at a much earlier age. And kids
I'm
are
like,
not
what?
having sex at as early of an age as we did. They're actually having a lot less than we ever did.
Why do
To
you
an
think?
extent.
Too much knowledge of STDs and everything else?
No,
that
I
comes
actually
along with
think
that?
I actually think it has to do with what we talked about on one of the previous shows. I do believe social media and stuff is definitely having an impact on that. When you can do so much, and I hate to say this, Pornhub has a lot to do with that too. The fact that they get access to a lot of other ways is easier for them. I mean, come on, we had to hide magazines or something, or videotapes and stuff. We had certain times we could. Now a kid can walk in the other room, view some porn, and get it taken care of really quick and easy.
One of
And
the
I-
things that one of the things I've seen too is with social media. A lot of these kids they put all their business up on the internet when they're happy or they're sad or whatever, and they make that definitive line in the sand when it could be just a simple argument or something like that. And it's so that the communication is a little bit different when you add that element to it.
And Bill, by the way, I'm going to get to your question. Just wait in a few minutes because that's going to open up a whole new topic for us in a minute. So yes, we will get to that, Bill. It's definitely a good question on there. So how hard is it? How do you react knowing your kids are going to be doing this stuff? Are you at home nervous all the time? Do they require the checkup on them?
Yeah.
How do you get that? How do you get trust when you have to know everything they're doing?
Here's the thing. I don't need to know everything that my children are doing, and I wish Zachary could get on here because this is a great topic. But
Yeah.
I give Zachary a lot of leeway. He's at that age. He's real close to being 18. I feel like he's really mature for his age even still, and I think he knows right from wrong. I'm 100% sure he knows right from wrong. And so, when I give him this leeway, that's one of the things I say to him is make right choices, have fun, but be safe. And even though the whole time Greg's like, Nikki, just let him have his life. He'll come home when he needs a shower and he's hungry. I'm over here like, oh my God, like a million things could happen. I'm a worry wart the whole freaking time. And if I don't hear from him for a day, I'm like, why didn't you call me? Like, why didn't you check in? And I'm not screaming. I'm just like, you can let me know you're alive. Just say, hey, Mom, I'm going to so-and-so's house, or I'm doing this, or I'm like, just
Now you
keep me
say you're not
informed.
screaming, but are you screaming?
No, I'm not.
I think
no,
a lot
I
of
have a
times
very-
people think that like they're not, but they're actually, they're talking loudly and firmly.
No,
And I think it can come across that way.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where I'm overbearing. I mean, I know that I can be kind of bitchy sometimes, but mostly it's like if I have the fear like something serious could happen. Like he rode his moped like not 10 miles, but close to 10 miles to go see his girlfriend for 5 minutes. I felt like it was really unsafe. So I had to be stern in that moment. You know what I mean? Like you kind of pick the moments, but for the most part,
What part was unsafe?
riding main roads, he doesn't have a license. He shouldn't be
Or
riding
just seeing
this
his
moped.
How old is he
girlfriend?
again?
17. But he is
He's
not
17, okay.
he hasn't
So he
gotten
didn't-
his license yet
Okay.
because of
He doesn't
the
even. Do
pandemic
they
and
still
everything.
have like moped
Yeah.
license, Liz?
Yeah, I mean, technically, the moped he has, and
But he doesn't have one of those either.
no, I mean, no, and I trust him. I trust that he's safe. It's just to me, it's like, wow, that it could be kind of dangerous, but that could also be me and my own internal fears. Remember, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I was thrown from the back of a motorcycle, so that what
Sure.
I mean. So I automatically have this internal fear. So
As some people know, we plan on having 2 teenagers on this show as well because we did want their viewpoint on a lot of this. Because, like I said, it's not just communicating one direction because
Yeah.
we do a lot of things wrong as adults as well.
Sure.
And I'm trying to take kind of the role of the teenager a little bit here because I'm not dealing with kids currently in my situation. But I do understand partly where they're coming from. And at 17 years old, Nikki, when do you think's the time to start letting loose?
I mean, I have, I'd have to get in deeper to kind of sort of the history of his youth and how he was raised. His dad raised him primarily, and it was a completely different world for him. Like, they weren't allowed to go outside. They weren't allowed to go outside and play at all. Like, they would have to beg. I mean, beg, you guys.
Wow.
And it was a very rare thing that they were allowed to leave the house and go outside and play. So, that was one thing I was always adamant about. Kids need to be outside. Like, they should be out being kids. Go be kids. Goodbye. Just, I don't know. I think, like my overbearing ways is just because I'm overprotective. But I really do give him a whole lot of space. And he does, he does have a lot of freedom.
It's a catch-22 on that, because sometimes giving too much space is you no longer care about them,
Yeah.
and then giving too little space, you feel trapped. Danielle, your 2 kids, your 10 and your 6-year-old, male or female?
Female 6 and male is 10.
As far as the 10-year-old, and I'm going to ask this of Gabe too in a second, do you have any issues trying to communicate with the male? Like, as far as you grew up as a female, and...
It's been becoming like that lately, but not so much because his dad's so involved and tells him what he needs to know. So at the same time, it's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have
Has
to really
Dad
kind of
recently
deal with that.
become involved? Dad has recently become involved?
Oh no, he's always been.
Well, that's good that
Always been,
he's had
but
that
he was a
figure.
mama's boy, and he would ask me stuff, and I'm like, ask your dad, Where my daughter is one that, I feel she feels more comfortable, even only being 6. But I do really believe that girls mature a lot quicker than boys just by having both sexes. My daughter is like beyond years too, like just
All
like-
females think that, yeah.
no, I really do think that though, because
Actually, in a lot of ways,
I'm not
think it
saying in a
depends-
good way. I'm
No,
not
I'm
saying
saying
like
it
in a
depends on
better
what-
way.
What angle you're looking at on it, I think it is true in a lot of ways. And in other
Yeah,
ways,
I mean,
it's
she
not.
likes boys already. She thinks they're cute. Where my son, I'm like, oh, is that your girlfriend? He's like, don't talk to me. Like, so it's like totally opposite. Where then you have like my daughter, who every little animal she sees, oh, that's so cute. You show it to my son, he's like, yeah, it's an animal. Like, it's just their whole like they must be. My mom always told me that you were born as a woman to be a nurturer. And it's so funny because I see that so much already in my daughter, she wants to play with baby dolls. She wants to do this.
Yeah.
She wants to help. She wants to cook. Where my son did that really, but not so much. It's weird how they follow the roles, really.
Before we get to Gabe, I'm going to ask about the raising of the daughter being the dad. And you've got your wife around too, obviously, so that helps because you're not a single parent in that situation. But Hunter here is talking about teens want to be independent, but parents have trouble to accept that because they still see them as their kids. And Hunter, you're totally right on that. But it's not necessarily their fault. You got to realize since you were born, they've been with you, and it's really hard to let go. But you're right, parents have to let go at some point. That's what I was talking to Nikki about at 17 years old. When is that point? But Hunter, I have a question for you, if you don't mind answering back on here. When is it a good time to let go? Because don't you also deal with? Don't you still want that parent there at the same time? Like you have to you got to find the same fine line they have to ride.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to Gabe for a minute on that with your daughter. As far as do you deal with any issues of trying to communicate with your daughter, being that you were never a little girl, as far as I know?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of the, all of the hygienic things and that's, all that stuff. That's definitely my wife's side.
I
of
don't
things.
think you've hit the heavy part of that yet.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
Okay,
And it's
so-
going to continue to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
About
that way.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's I think this is where some of the separation comes from between daddy daughter at some time because
Yeah.
it's something I can
Right.
relate to.
You know.
Same for mother and son too, though, because even though like boys
Right.
don't go through whatever,
Okay.
like the same thing, but
You guys talking about hormones when you have two boys that don't talk?
Yeah.
Okay, had I not had my oldest son, Skylar, I would have had zero clue because I'm a single mom of
That's
kind
what's
of
saving you for last.
of kind of what to do with that. That part has been a rough one. That's been a roller coaster ride of fun.
Now, do you still have problems at all dealing with your oldest son? Like trying to get him to tell you things or getting him to understand where you're coming from and vice versa?
No, not at all anymore. I mean, Skylar and I were both. He was like a boy version of me, so we always knew. So we butted horns because of that, But communication was never an issue, ever.
Has he helped you a lot with the younger two? He's helped you a lot, though.
Yeah. But then at the same time, like when we get mad and we fight, ooh, it's a big fight. I'm like, I don't care how big you are. He's huge. Like he's a big guy. He's like 6'4". He's a big football player. I said, I don't care how big you are. I don't care how tough you are. I'm tougher. I'm bigger. I will get you in your sleep if you disrespect me.
If we-
So.
Go ahead.
Oh no! So we just have that kind of relationship. But he's an asshole teddy bear.
I was going to say, if we have any children or people watching with kids in the chat or teenagers and they want to ask something, please feel free to send it in because we want as much input as we can get from them as well on this, just like Hunter did. And
Yeah.
Zach can text things if you'd like to as well.
Yeah,
It's totally fine.
I just told
Yeah.
him I don't know if he got it yet. His phone died and he was plugging it back in, so we'll see.
I understand. I'm going to go to a deeper portion of it now, something Bill said. And this is where we're going to go into a little bit of the mature topics. Bill says his daughter was molested by her half-brother for 3 years, and her mother told her not to tell daddy. And I take it your daddy, obviously, I think, or is... He said half-brother, so are you daddy, or are we talking about step-daddy? Whichever one it is on there. So, we were talking earlier about trying to get your kids to tell you anything. How does one approach that? Because that, unfortunately, is something that still goes on extremely common. I don't think it's as common as it once was. I'm learning over time, but it's
I think it's
extremely
worse.
common. How
You know-
do you open that channel? First of all, mother is totally wrong in that sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
mother is to blame 100%
Yeah.
on that situation.
Yeah.
Because what the daughter did was the right thing, which was tell mother, and then mother ignored it. And
turned
I,
her
from
away.
experience, and this will come up on other shows because many of us here can relate to it, from experience knows that when you say something that big to a parent and they kind of dismiss it or don't believe it, it takes away a lot of trust and willingness to talk to them again about serious issues.
Or I would say in general, overall, it would probably put, heaven forbid something ever happened again.
Right.
Well, for me, my introduction to all of that actually came from getting accidentally hit in the nuts by my daughter about twice, 2 to 3 times a week when she's crawling over me or something like that. And that's led into the good conversation about private areas and things like that, and that the only person that should be, even, is your mom, if she's helping in the shower or whatever, or a doctor that we take you to, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And that should never be a case. Stranger danger, sort of all those lessons that you learned as a kid. And, just kind of stick with that and, keep ingraining it into their brain ad nausea,
Yeah.
I want to add this line, this fine line that a lot of kids who've dealt with something like Bill was explaining come across, is we build it up so much that it's wrong to tell us, and we go so far to make it a very shameful act, which, don't get me wrong, it is a shameful act. But when it happens to the child, child feels more shame and doesn't want to talk about it. How do we find that line? Do we have any suggestions out there to how we can find a good line for that?
Well,
To talk to and expose it, that they can tell us these things, but eliminate the shame factor. As adults, we
Okay.
understand the shame factor.
here's the thing I think is very important with not just your kid, but any friendship that you have, is that what they tell you stays there.
Yeah.
And you don't tell it to anybody else. And that's where so many people have a hard time doing that. Like I have a girlfriend that's like, so and so told me this and they told me not to tell you, but I'm like, then don't tell me.
Yeah.
They just can't not spread it. So whatever they tell you, they have to trust that you are going to keep it with you and help just only them.
Right.
They have to have that confidence in you and that trust.
Well, that goes to the problem that we would be saying what Bill said was correct, not to tell anybody.
Yeah.
about it.
There is no.
Because
I'm going to butt in on
that's-
this conversation.
Yeah, go
'cause this
ahead.
is just-
I mean,
'cause
If
this
it
is
gets
in
to
my
that
family.
point, I
Well,
can see. So
Suits a
this
lot
is
of
in
us,
my
actually.
family.
But
Yeah,
that's
this is
another
in my
topic coming
family
up.
very
Yeah.
well. So basically, I don't think there is a right way. It sadly is one of those things. It doesn't come out until someone breaks down, someone starts getting into things that they're not supposed to be doing. Is when people start noticing it and then questioning. Other than that, they hide. Or you just notice like a difference in their personality or something like that. It's the same as if they don't feel good. It's the same thing. You notice it. So unfortunately, there is no correct way. I mean, I feel you could probably sit there and say, you can tell me, and you can do all this, but it's never really going to be genuine enough in that severity of what it is that they're trying to tell you, that it is unfortunate it comes out in any bad circumstance. Unfortunately.
But Danielle, what I want to say with that is that if they feel comfortable enough to talk to you about it, and they
Great.
know that you're not going to share it with anyone else, here's the next part of that. You create more conversation, and if it is something that really does need to be,
You break the
given
rule
to-
on that occasion.
no, you
Yeah.
don't break the rule, but you
you
express
do.
to them, no, listen, you express to them how important it would be to tell someone else that maybe could help them further with this. That this is such an experience that you have had, that it's not right, that we have to go further with this. You have that conversation then with them and let it be their decision then, if they're of
still-
age. Now,
But
I'm
you're
not
dealing
saying
with
if they're
shame
young.
factor.
You're
No,
doing
I'm
the
just
same
saying-
thing.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
no. It's just that they'll never talk to you about anything again if you do not have that kind of trust and
Well, the
that kind
problem-
of
The
conversation.
whole problem
One
with that,
second
though,
before-
is
Let's forget you're raising a child. You're teaching the
Right.
child. So
Right.
sometimes certain things have to be expressed and shown right from wrong. Go ahead, Danielle.
But the problem is with that is this is not a new thing or just one person has happened to. So the problem is you lead into the conversation trying to explain that there are other people. And now they wonder, well, how do you know that there's other people? So
I'm
it
not-
kind of
okay.
contradicts it.
I'll
I'm
get
not
back to that,
exactly
Bill.
sure the topic that you're talking about. So what I'm talking about is if
well,
it's
talk about
something
Leon.
that if it's something that they're telling you that is not like something illegal or absolutely
Right.
horribly wrong.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
they
yes.
should know.
You know,
Yeah.
You show the
So-
confidence there.
I thought we were in the
But-
conversation about Bill's
Yeah, we
thing.
still are. We
Yeah.
still are. But the
Okay.
show is in
Okay.
general about the communication of it
Oh,
and
yeah.
the actual acts of it. So that's why we're trying
Yeah,
to hold back a little
definitely.
bit. No, what you said
Okay.
is good, Danielle. You were on point with that.
But yeah, definitely,
So-
yeah, you do have to have that trust with them. Any minor stuff, yeah, of
But I
course.
think when you bring it up your way, Linny, the shame factor is hard to deal with because when they bring something like that up to you and you say we should tell somebody else, they're extremely ashamed about what happened. They feel they're kids. They feel it's their
It
fault
depends on
90%
what
of
it
the time.
was. It depends on
Yeah.
what it was.
So at some points, I think it's right now. I'm going back to what Bill said here. He is the dad that we're talking about that was not to be told on. Her mom told her it was just something that happens. I found out when he heard her the cops were called and her mom knew what was going on. The daughter didn't tell her. Oh, okay.
How old were they?
Yeah,
That's
how
the
old
question.
was? Yeah, I'm really curious about that as well. How old?
I mean,
they
if
were.
that's not too much to ask.
Bill's pretty much an open book, but he knows if he doesn't want to share something, he doesn't have to. But Bill's opened up on a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that. That's the whole point of this channel right now. And Hunter, I'm still curious. What else you think? You had commented earlier on that. Like, what are the steps do you think that parents could take? What do you think would be good steps to make you feel more independent? If you want to comment on that, we'd love to hear about it on there. Because, again, those opinions matter too.
I'm trying to get Zach back into the chat too, but I did want to kind of chime in on this topic because we were in a situation where my children felt like something wasn't right and they came to me. I definitely felt like something wasn't right off of what they were describing. And it came to, like, in my kids, if they told me something that they knew was bad, because they grew up in an abusive household, really bad, they would always first say to me, don't tell him we told you. They always had this inner fear, like you can't tell him because something worse is going to happen. So it was a fine line I had to toggle, as my children were growing up, because you can only say it so many times to people who don't listen, talking, the judicial system or whatever, it's all corrupt.
Right.
You can only say it so many times that children are not seeing results of their mom saying, you got to trust me and we got to tell the right people and we got to do what we can do to help you, that they didn't see results, that they got to a place that they didn't want to talk about it anymore. Would they definitely come to me? They would come to me still and talk to me, but they would say, there's no point. There's no point. And eventually it, good came from it. And it was sad. It took 10 years of that. 10
It
years
does take
of
a while.
that.
You have to understand when you do reveal anything very deep, it doesn't just have to be about the molestation thing, but when you reveal that to a parent, you're going to harm your child for a period as a child. But
Yeah.
what you will do is you will strengthen them as they get older and they will
Yes.
understand it.
Yeah.
One of the things, Bill, answered your question,
Oh, jeez.
that she was 4 when it started, he was 12. And honestly, this is going to sound really bad, but not meant as bad at the same time. That's a very unique age group because obviously the 4-year-old has no clue what's going on. 12-year-old is a point of discovery, not right, should not have ever happened, should have been taught better in every way, don't get me wrong on that. But if it continued at that point too, it obviously was an intentional thing. 12 is a really, really weird age because that depends on development perspective on there. It's not right in any way, and that should have been pointed out, so whoever raised that kid is totally responsible for that. Because that's not a point where the kid is 14 to 16 years old, knows what the fuck's going on,
Right.
is choosing to do this completely wrong. Now, the 4 part of that makes it completely wrong, by the way.
Right, yeah.
But I'm saying as far as him being 12, so it's like 12 and 10, that's a little different situation. That could be more acts of discovery. As much as I hate to say it like that, there's a limit. But yeah, the 4 is something to hit on. The fact that the mom knew what was going on. Mom has to reach out if told. Dad has to reach out if told. But I blame fathers a little bit for situations like that because fathers, we'll get into it on another show actually. I'm not even going to go down that route. So we're talking communication. I want to get more in. We're going to go back to... Okay. Hunter doesn't want to answer. That's fine, Hunter. You don't have to answer anything you don't want to. But, we want to try. We want to learn. Because it's really hard, and one of the harder things for you, probably Hunter, just as well as Zach, is you have the parent on the show. And the teenagers we were going to have did not have the parents on there. So they were a little more free, but it didn't work out. And when you do find out, Bill, and that's in any situation, and you told your daughter you you can and should tell me everything no matter what your mom says. That is important. Certain things, mothers take advantage of children, especially daughters. Like, your dad would not understand this. He wouldn't. You're fine, blah, blah, blah. And it works the same way with fathers and sons. You know, mom doesn't get this. It's just what guys do. I'm not talking the molestation thing. I'm just saying, you know, in certain aspects of life and growing up. So you come to trust one or the other, and when that parent comes along and says something like that, you tend to believe them.
Yeah.
Because they've used it in many other aspects too. Now, moving away from that particular aspect, it's one we could definitely go all night on. And we probably shouldn't. As far as who has dealt with one that is so frustrating that no matter what, has anybody gotten to the point of, I'm not going to say physical abuse, but spanking their children or anything like that, because that's how we were raised, or even thought about it or got limited to that point?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I want to say it was like early puberty years. And it was nothing like I didn't ever beat my children. I never believed that I should have to use physical, you know, of anything to communicate with my children. But, you know, sometimes tempers flare, things are said, and when you have a preteen, like, telling you you're a bitch or to F off, like, it, you know, it just kind of, it triggers. I'm sorry. It just, like, I felt like Dr. Jekyll, you know, at some point, and I just had to show him, like, I did not hurt him. I took him down. Like, my sons all tower me. I'm like 5 foot tall on a good day, and they're all pushing 6 foot. So I just had to show them, just because you're bigger than me does not ever mean you are superior to me.
You're bigger than them.
Yeah, I would never hurt my children to hurt them, ever.
No, I don't.
Ever,
That's
ever.
what I mean. I didn't mean like physical abuse at all.
Yeah.
Because it is sometimes putting them in their place. Just so everybody knows, as far as the topic we were talking about with Bill, we are going December 9th is our topic about sexual abuse. That's a very deep topic. So anybody that has any more information on that wants to share it, that will be the topic of the show on December 9th. Just so people are informed, because I know we're going to try not to delve too much into it right now. So, do you think that the spanking, the even smacking across the face, I think, honestly, I think to a point it works, but I think it works better I think spanking as a child, I think when your kid hits a teenager, I think there's sometimes that he needs to be slapped. I hate to say it like that. I do think there's a limit when he starts mouthing off, tells you to fuck off, bitch, I don't care, you don't know me. And it sounds so harsh in today's world to say stuff like that. Nobody wants to say anything like that, but I'll tell you right now, I didn't tell my mom to fuck off again.
Right.
I had a newfound respect for that. And now you see there's no punishment associated with that. And don't get me wrong, they threaten things like child services and all this, and I'll call them child protection,
Right.
but whatever. But without that punishment, they keep pushing that line. The problem is we're not allowed to have that line. You know, I literally know now.
Anymore.
I pushed my mom to see how far she would go. And when I hit that line, I hit it smack in the face, literally.
Yeah.
You know, I knew that line was there.
Yeah.
So if we're not going to go that route of spanking our children, since I got a no, I believe, with Gabe and a no with Danielle, what route makes that line? What makes the communication okay?
Well, it's instilling consequence first and foremost. You know, it's one thing. You know, I've spanked her a few times, but it's to the point of now just the threat of spanking,
Yeah.
and more so the, you know, mixed with, I'm taking away this. I'm taking
Oddly
away.
enough, also coming up as one of our topics, Grounded for Life, which is about punishments and the way
Yeah,
we
so,
we're gonna hit one of those as well.
Right now, the tablets weren't doing the job right now. So, threatening to take away that, threatening to take away Animal Crossing, these things usually will get her
Attention.
I
to
will have
start
to admit,
paying attention.
social media has made punishing a little bit easier, especially the capability of being able to take away a form or even block access to some things.
Right.
Like through internet. Bill says his daughter and him have a good relationship now, even though they won't admit they're having sex. Well, of course. No matter how much you tell a parent, I don't care what parent. I actually think mother-daughter have a easier time doing this than any other family members out there. But they don't want to tell you about it. First of all, a girl never wants to tell dad they're having sex because dad goes into I'm kicking his ass mode. Let me get the shotgun. You know, they hit that mode, so they never want to tell you.
I will say this though, my Zachary, has been very open to discuss like just things him and his friends talk about, because they're, you know, he has never fully admitted to me whether he's been sexually active or not, but he has definitely raised the topic. There was somebody wanted to know, could they get pregnant swimming in a swimming pool where there was some contact?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
Hot tubs of Haven. Shit lasts for 24 hours. It's going in there.
So, and I love that they're, he's comfortable.
Oh,
Now
she cut
my
out.
14-year-old.
Hunter, you can't get pregnant in a swimming pool, just so you know. Okay, go ahead.
My 14-year-old, he's still very like withdrawn, embarrassed about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. Just that's weird.
14's a hard age because it's coming up to him. I think the
Yeah.
reason I said that the mother's daughter actually have a much more open, easier time discussing that, even though it's not easy, is because a daughter particularly goes through changes during that and experiences other things that mother can relate to, and a guy cannot.
Yeah.
We have no idea. There are certain things that happen with their bodies, certain ways, you got to discuss cycles and everything. I mean, you have to go in depth on a lot of shit that I just say, I'm gonna go for a while. I'm going to the bar. I'll be back.
I'm going for a walk.
You guys finish this conversation. I'm gonna get back to Danielle in a minute. By the way, Bill says you're looking hot, so there you go. Just got to throw that in there. Bill also says if they say something bad, you put them on ground.
Gotta
but
make a
nowadays
face
you
now.
take the phone and computer away. Bill still finds that hot. I mean, the grounding things works, taking things away, as Gabe was saying, is a very good way to do it. But as you hit more in the teenage years, I know from experience too, we can get around grounding. There's
Yeah.
always a way.
Yeah.
You nail.
With my kids, I find my words cut them like a knife. I can talk to them. And I'm not like shaming them or anything. I'm just laying it on how disappointed I am and, how upset it made me, depending on what the situation was. My words cut them so deep. They will go ponder it. Zachary is, especially, and my youngest, Noah, it hits their heart and it makes them reflect, and they will come back later and apologize after. And that's when I know that light was triggered and they took some time, like it really hit them, and they had to take some time to sit back and say, wow, she was right.
Now, I
They
wanna
would
move-
never say she was right, but they apologized.
I think
I want to
that.
move to Danielle. Oh, go ahead, Gabe. You
Sorry,
don't wanna move to Danielle.
I think that sort of lays down whether they have respect in women too. So
Yeah.
if he's instilled that, then because my mom, similar, she always instilled respect to me like that. So when she was the same way, she would just,
Yeah, it's the same for me,
man.
really, on that. It is the same. It's the respect. And Gabe has cut out.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll be back. Danielle, I'm going to hit you up really quick because when you were asking before about smacking or spanking your children. Now, mind you, your children, I don't think are at the age that's really going to come to you as strong, but they're going to get there because I don't think any of our parents initially intended. We were born like, I'm never going to hit my kid. I'm never going to spank my kid.
Right.
I'm never going to slap my kid. I just think there comes a time like, oh, this bitch needs it. And I just think, so Danielle, what would your solution be? Like, are you that far against it, or?
No, me and my son's father, even though he's going to eat my meatloaf and I'm not happy. The food, dinner, because I'm on here.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, do not.
okay.
When you say that, I was like, do not.
I mean, if you want
No,
to take
you
a
went
break, well, we're
totally
almost
different
done,
with
but-
that. But anyways, no, I can eat my dinner after. But no, we were both very against it. Thought that it was a negative route to the kid, But I could tell you what, I've actually my son. I can't use my son as an example because he's just that good. I spanked him once, and he's 10.
Well,
and
like
that
I said,
was
you haven't
when
hit
he
the
was a
main years where it's going to
child,
really
so.
kick in. So you've never spanked
Yeah.
your kid or anything like that, even gently?
No,
Which is fine. I know a lot of people have
Austin
now,
has,
nowadays.
yes, he has been spanked. Now my daughter, on the other hand, total opposite. Total opposite. She is my pusher. She will do whatever she wants to do. She thinks everything's funny. She's my second child, so she doesn't see him getting punished because he's not really doing anything. So she's testing the waters on everything she possibly can. And When I say no, she's like, but why? Because me and my son have this relationship of like a funny relationship where like the whole household today has been your face, your face. Everything is always like that. So when my daughter does it, she's like, oh yeah, your face. But she does it at the most inappropriate time that is not funny. Like if she's getting in trouble, she's like, your face, you know? So we have to learn how to bring that back a little bit.
So if
because
it comes,
we're having fun with it, but then like it's serious mode. So she's been spanked. I mean, it comes down
now
to
what
it
do you
where
think
she's
your
at that age.
reaction's gonna be?
She's 6. I still will.
Okay, so what
To
do you
what?
think your reaction would be? And I know you can't actually 100% verify this because it happened yet, but your son comes up and says, fuck you, Mom. Fuck you, bitch. What's your reaction? You don't smack your kid. You don't do anything.
I'm kind of scared
You sit
of
him
that
down and say,
because
those are really hard words.
I'm a reactor.
I mean,
No.
Okay, so it
that's
could
where
happen.
I'm
I'm
afraid
like-
because I am
Okay.
the reactor. No.
it's
I'm the
instinctively.
reactor.
If you're punching
where,
your kid, if you're burning them, or you're doing
I
anything
will.
like that,
I will swear
that's too
back,
far.
and that's what I'm afraid
Oh,
of.
yeah.
No, I'm
And
afraid
sometimes
I'm
if your
going to
mom
swear back.
swears-
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah. That actually can be powerful too. Bill agreed with you,
'Cause
by
I
the
don't-
way, that he was right. He wasn't grounded, but the talks and the words, like you said, Nikki, it hit him, and that worked with me most of the time too. My mom was really good with that.
Yeah.
You or your
my
dad.
my
it was
son's
mom.
father is a big talker.
Also, as a favor for
He's
Bill,
a
really
big
quick,
talker
can you
with
just
him.
smile
And then,
really quick, Danielle?
I've learned that.
Oh boy.
All right, there you go, Bill.
But
Bill,
yeah,
Bill,
no,
Bill, you need to
we're
get
more of
laid.
a talking family though, so it works.
Now, have one thing we were talking about as far as how you communicate, and your son or daughter lashes out on you. Have you just reversed the exact same tactic? I talked on our last show really quickly that, I used to tell my mom, I hate you,
That's
I'm
what
gonna
I'm
kill
saying.
myself, blah blah blah, and she did it herself, and it was the last time I did that. So has anybody done that reverse tactic?
That's what I'm
you're gonna
saying.
throw
Like
this
if he
shit
was
at
to
me?
swear at me,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've
if
tried
he was to
everything.
swear at me, I'm afraid I'm going to swear back, and then it's just going to be a battle back and forth. So that's
Well,
my
who's-
biggest fear so far. I'm not worried about like physical or anything.
Well, I want
I'm
to speak
living
for
your
Hunter for a
freedom.
minute. I want to speak for Hunter for a minute on here because Hunter doesn't want to discuss some of the stuff, and I get that on here. But Lenny, you said you tried everything, which means you feel you failed a lot of places on there. So where is your issue? I'm gonna try to speak for Hunter here.
Okay, well, first of all, Hunter does nothing wrong. Hunter's like the absolute perfect child.
Or
He
whichever
polices
one.
himself.
Okay,
he
well, I'll speak
seriously-
to a different one.
Okay, but now I have Skylar and Lucas, who are almost the exact same human being, but one is autistic and one was not. And Skylar, nothing worked. You chose your battles because nothing worked. And they're very large children, so you don't want to create aggression in those kids. You don't want to teach aggression in those kids, so I didn't spank them it was a very, very rare occasion, but there were a couple times, but I had to pick and choose those times because I knew what could occur,
Right.
so that was that part of it, so that part's hard. Hunter was easy. Hunter's super easy because he doesn't do bad things ever. He's just like too afraid to. But the other one's not so much.
I
The other
always
ones
feel
push
it's
the
best to
buttons.
not hit the child either, because then you're just teaching them that that's how it's supposed
Right.
to be, and that's not
I
right either.
think
Is why I don't
when it
agree
comes
with
to hitting
it.
the child,
So-
I think it's only acceptable if it is an extremely rare, has never really happened instance.
Right.
To where they know they pushed you to a point that
Right.
you've done something you would never ever do.
Right.
If it's every time they act up, you do that. Every time they act up, you spank them and stuff. Then
Yeah.
you're right. You're sending
like your
the wrong
serious
message on
mode.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one time with Skylar. Now, mind you, Skylar
Like-
was 6'4", and he was, when he was a teenager, he was a huge kid. And I grounded him one time, and I finally found something that once the computers kind of came out, I grounded him from his computer. He got so mad that he was grounded for his computer for a week. He came up to me on day 2. I'm doing grilled cheese sandwiches. And he comes up and he hovers over top of me, telling me that he shouldn't be grounded and he's getting in my face. And I don't know what made me do it, but I took the spatula and I just pulled it and it's flung and it hit him in the face. And he went flying upstairs, and he still to this day tells that story like it was a greasy, hot spatula. And I'm like, yeah, right.
She took it out of the boiling oil.
Exactly.
She came at me with a thing of feathers. I didn't know what was going on.
But because I never spanked him, and that happened when he was like, 14 or 15,
But that's what it is, because
he
it's so
remembered
unique.
it. Yeah.
That's what sticks. Yeah, you can't do it on a regular basis. I think there's a lot of things with punishing
Mine works
kids
as a
that
stare
way.
now.
Right.
I just give a stare. Just give a stare.
Well, this-
like that.
but you know,
evil
the
stare
stares
now.
often don't work
Like they know,
unless they
like
know.
almost like they know you're coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, mine know
It's
when
like the
I'm coming.
countdowns. It's like the countdowns.
Yeah, I was just
Like
I
going to
don't
say
have to
that.
come anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I,
I
don't
used
have
to
to go.
say, on 1, 2, 3, I'm going to get the spoon.
Right,
And the
yeah.
spoon
Yeah.
became the big thing.
When they know that's their line, then the goal becomes how close can I get without crossing it.
Right.
Now, a lot of times when
See,
kids
and
act
I've
out,
learned that with my sister's family, it doesn't work. The spoon, because she's got 7 kids, and now that they're all older, they take the spoon and they're like, "Mom, I'm going to use a spoon on you." They flip it on her.
it can develop some fetishes when you get older. Trust me. So it's not. But I'm sorry. Different topic. January 10th, right, Bill? So
So not what I
kids-
said.
I know. A lot of kids lash out and because they just want your attention. And
Yeah.
when you're a kid, good, bad attention is attention. And that's one of the things. Sometimes a parroting technique works for a lot of people. I don't agree with it and everything, but when they're talking to you, often the I don't know what to tell you, I don't know how to deal with it or running away doesn't work as well as parroting back kind of what they're saying. To let them know you've actually heard them. And I have been in situations with kids where that has worked really well. Like I have, my nephew, I kind of helped raise my nephew for a good portion of his teenage life. And one of the things he would talk stupid stuff. Now, he would talk, he thinks there should be an extension cord from the moon because the moon's always lit and it's going to power the earth. Stupid ass shit. Well, he was 17. Now, I was like, not the smartest person in the world. But, instead of just doing the instinct of you're such a fucking retard, which I did do on a couple occasions because it was stupid what you were saying. It's like there's no thought process in there. Think about what you're saying. And that would put him on kind of a spiral of anger. And this was one of my learning things at that point because I'm dismissing what he's saying. But I did find out that in situations like that where he does something that if I turned around and went, so you want to build an extension cord from here and slowly pointed it out, he would get the same influx, but it would be a fun time, a fun situation. And he would get the attention he sought without being called stupid.
Yeah.
And I think
That makes
that's one of the
sense.
things we have to figure. Bill!
Well, Google Sky Elevator, and it's not that far fetched.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's trust me, it is. Oh,
It was
God.
a
Bill,
potato.
Bill.
Just so,
Oh my
just so
God,
you know,
Bill.
Bill, this is rated PG.
Right.
I think we're gonna have blue dot Danielle's
Yeah.
face when she comes back on. And we're gonna have blue dot her. She's gonna be blue dot over her face.
I'm gonna wear a
Voice
mask.
disguise.
Yeah. To save you.
No,
All our
I'm
new
gonna- I'm
people,
gonna
we got
wear a
some new
mask.
panelists
I
joining
am.
us on some upcoming shows, and we're gonna have to start, blurring their face like the FBI. I think we'll even change our voice to our and I didn't know my character was doing it, so they won't even sound the same. We'll just have to hide them. All right, Danielle will of course be back in a moment on that. Okay, so has anybody done any of that parroting back situation that I explained?
Yes. My mom, when I was a kid, sat us all down when we were hormonal and said as soon as we are thinking about being sexually active, we're going on the pill. And I did the same thing with Skylar. I sat him down at age 12 and told him the birds and the bees, look at her.
5 minutes.
Danielle, I don't think that's going to help. I think Bill's going to be into that.
I do too. I think that's the wrong outfit.
Oh boy.
Darn. It's my son's mask. Don't be mean about it.
No, I don't think means the thought coming to Bill's mind right now. I saw. Go ahead, Lenny.
No, I was just saying I grew up with a mother that got pregnant at a very young age. I mean, she was 13. She was 12, coming 13. Wow. And had my sister Sue. So she had 4 girls. So with all of us girls, as soon as we were of age to possibly have that happen, you know, she sat us all down, and I did the same thing with Skylar, and kind of talked him all through that at age 12, and he was like, "Oh, Mom," but I'll bet you he's probably gonna do the same at some point in his life.
Okay, well, let's flip this whole table around for a minute, because we've all talked about dealing with the kids and lashing out and our responses and how we should approach it. But, you know, we were all kids too. And
Horrible
we didn't
kids.
pay attention to a lot of shit. And we disobeyed a lot of times. Now that we know what we know, we often know that our parents were doing what was best for us. It was in our best interest, a lot of things of what they were doing. But back then, what could they have done that would have helped us? Think about the child's point of view now. Because nobody ever says that. Nobody ever reflects on them being a child and why they did the shit they did. They usually go back to, I'm a great parent now.
Yeah. And I think, and that's funny you bring that up, because I think that's why I parent the way I do, because I wish my mom would have been more open to conversations. It was always so taboo and uncomfortable for her. She was uncomfortable, like I could probably count on one hand how many times my mom said, "I love you," because I could see just how uncomfortable it made her to say it when she did say it. So, like, hard topics were always uncomfortable, and she was a young mom. My mom was 15 having her first child. So, you know, she didn't know if she was right or wrong, but I knew what I needed as a child that I didn't get, and so I try to give that to my children.
What
But,
specific things do you think you've done differently that you wish your parent would have done that you have made a point not to do with your own kids? Because a lot of teenagers don't understand the strides you're trying to make.
I just openly and actively listen to my children, especially, you know, like, I
Active
can tell,
listening, that's the term I was talking about. All right, go ahead.
as a parent, you can tell when your child is in distress, you know, especially as they grow into teenage years and they're not, you know, they're staying in their own space for longer amounts of time. You can still read them, and you know, even if they're not saying it to you, you know, something has them bothered. So I always make it a point to just show them that I care enough to ask them, and show them that I see that they're going through something. Not always are they ready to talk to me, but you know, it's something.
Do you ever
that
take yourself back there? Do you, when you're trying to make these errors and you want to talk to about them, do you ever take yourself back to being a kid, go, well, if my mom would have asked me this, how would I have felt?
Yeah, I do. I definitely try to remind myself and remember, you know, being their age, putting myself into the situation. I think that's why I choose the words I choose. I try to choose them wisely. I try to pick my battles, and I just try to be as open as I can with them. Because again, my mom wasn't that way. And if my mom would have been different, if she would have been the way I am with my children, I think our relationship would not be as horrible as it is now. I think it would have opened doors for better communication, because ultimately that's what it's all about.
But the question is it's sort of the grass is greener sort of situation. You know, my mother is a solutionist, so that sort of shoulder to cry on. You know, she was a single parent for ever, and so she had grown with 2 boys, and it was more of, okay, I'm sorry you're hurt. I'm sorry you got into a fight. This is how you take care of that situation, as opposed to, I'm going to cry sort of into my mother's arms. And in certain regards, I wish she was like that. But at the same time, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just sort of half and half of that
Because
because
your
of the
mom,
fact that I have grown with a high moral compass, because of though those conversations were uncomfortable and sometimes I just wanted a hug, and sometimes I got them, and she's a sweet woman, but it wasn't always like that. So it's sort of a balance between that.
Yeah.
Hello, Jeff. Happy holidays. On there. Jeff said hi. Happy holidays. Glad to have you be a part of this again, Jeff. So your mom was an example of what I think a lot of parents forget about, though, that needs to be included in taking care of the whole, yes, I understand, I'm sorry, let's prevent this in the future.
Right.
And I think that is really important to get. Bill says his mom was his best friend. He could tell her anything. But Bill, even you, I'm sure there's certain things about raising you that might have been something you wanted to change that was perfectly okay back then. It wasn't bad. It was not abusive. Just things that you thought could be handled differently. Danielle, if you're busy, you're busy. I'm sorry. I picked when you were eating. I was like, she's like, yeah, well, what do you want? I'm busy right now.
I know one thing that I do.
I'm not
Yeah.
busy. I can still listen. That's the point of the headphones.
I something I do with my kids, and I wasn't always like this, but I thought it was important to be able to lead by example. I will always tell my children when I was wrong for
Yes,
maybe
Jazz,
how
a fan, we do.
Do they read? What? Oh, okay. But if I'm wrong, like in how I react or something, if I said something wrong, that maybe was taken the wrong way, I will always tell my children and apologize and tell them I was wrong, because I want them to know that it's okay to admit when we're wrong.
And that's a tough thing for people to do. So
Yeah.
Admitting
I
they're
think that's
wrong, for
great.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I think you really got to try to
Like that,
instill,
my mom's
admitting
calling
your
me
own
out.
support. I know. That's what I'm getting ready to bring up on there. So I think you always need to communicate and explain what, why, and where things are being said. Very important. Always letting them know you love them, trust, respect them as well. Every kid is different. What works with one might not work with another, and you must understand that. And again, when we create this panel, we always tell you the reason we have usually a diverse panel is because we all have different situations that are the same at the base, but what happens beyond that changes, and how you react to it. And hopefully that we're all relating to different people
Yeah.
who can see and understand. And yeah, Danielle's always eating. Just so you know. And kids do watch, this is really important, kids do watch everything we do and can mimic you.
Yes.
That is
Like
really important
sponges.
because a lot of times we try to be this great parent for a kid, but the examples we set are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because we're saying, and I hate to say it this way, I didn't even know my mom really drank when I was a kid. Turns out she did. My brother had to pick her up when she was drunk at the bar one time, and he was old enough to do it at that point. But he had to. I didn't even know. Because we tell them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then we turn around and frickin' do it. Well, we're their heroes. We're their idols. They want to be like us.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
My 14-year-old was crushed the first time he saw me have more than one alcoholic drink. He was shattered. Like he was not comfortable with it. It was not something he was used to or was normal to him, and he did not like it, and he let it be known. The point that I said, all right, you know what? I'll just stick to my weed tonight, and I'm not gonna drink. And he's totally comfortable, mind you. He's comfortable with the weed. My kids they all know I smoke weed. I'm not gonna hide that. My parents hid it growing up. I was the kid who had to babysit all the younger kids while they went and hid behind the garage, saying they were doing God knows what. They would never admit they were smoking weed. But I smelt your freaking beaners, you guys.
Sure.
If you're
Oh, yeah.
watching, I knew you were smoking weed.
Pat says, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Pat says, I wish the kids came with instructions, but they don't. Yes,
Yeah.
they do. You just get them 20 years prior.
I
You actually do get them,
Just
and
kidding.
you get first-hand knowledge. Because that's what we were talking about, things that happened when you were a kid, and you wish different ways that your parents were reached out that
Yeah.
they don't, that you're trying to change.
Right.
I was actually going to bring up what she had said before about the mimicking. And I don't remember where I'm going with now because I already answered that question. So moving on from that. Tried to backtrack with no reason to really backtrack there. So that did no good whatsoever. And Lenny, what about the way you were raised and stuff?
It was
Is there
just a
anything that
reminder,
you've-
important reminder.
Yeah. What was there anything that you think that the way you were raised, even
Well,
if it
the
was
w-
okay then, that you said, I can't do this, I want to focus differently because the way I felt at that time was not a good feeling.
The way I was raised was a lot had to do with because my sister was in a car accident and all of their effort was and attention was on my older sister. So I kind of was so independent that and for some reason they just allowed me to be that way and I had a great I love my kid life. I don't think my parents raised me wrong other than one thing that'll come up in another show. But my mom was my rock, and as I had kids, I basically told my oldest kid, there is nothing that you are going to do that I didn't already do that I know that you're going to do, so you might as well just do it in front of me. So that way you can stay safe doing it. And I was just very open with them like my mom was with me.
Yours has to be a much harder situation, being that you're dealing with all boys, though, because boys
Yeah.
don't want to do certain things in front of their mother like that.
Right.
What is
So-
your Nikki? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's probably, if you talk to my oldest son, he's probably was very uncomfortable with the conversations that we had when he was young. My other ones are, a little bit different than that. So,
And a lot of us, I love my upbringing too. Pat says she loves her upbringing. For sure, she was blessed. And I do too. I think my mom did a bang-up fucking job. I think she
Right.
was a fantastic mother. But there are certain things that when she did it the way that I thought were unfair, and I wish that there would have been times where I'd have gotten to say more, because something you said right in the statement before it was kids get afraid to say something to a parent,
Yes.
knowing they will get in trouble to say something. And this is where you got to be really fucking careful, because one of the things that happened as a kid with me and my brother, my parents, or my mom, my stepdad, they went out for a minute, and me and my brother, we like to order food when they went out because we're fat kids. So they did. My brother went across the street to Double E, ordered some food, came, brought it back, while my parents came home unexpectedly. And I was raised with the fact of be honest, say whatever you want to say. So my brother comes out all, lying, being nonchalant. He's really good at it and stuff. Nothing here. And I'm like, I'm feeling so much guilt because I know I've got to be honest. I've been told to be honest. I grab it and I bring it out and I'm like, here you go. We snuck it. I'm sorry. My brother got to go to his fucking Poison concert and my Boblo trip with Gabe got canceled. Okay.
Oh,
And I got in so much fucking trouble, but the thing
You
was,
got
I
grounded
think
a
they were
lot.
trying to. I did. My
Yeah.
stepdad was a lot to do with that.
yes,
actually.
he did.
But the thing about it was that did more damage. That scared me now. Like, I was honest, and my brother who was standing there lying to you got to go do what he was doing because he was older.
Right.
But I'm the honest one, and I get punished. So if you're going to go with that fact of knowing they're going to get in trouble and trying to say honesty is the best policy, fucking stick with it. If it's a repeat offense, that's different.
Yeah.
But when it's first time, they're trying to be honest, they're trying to show you, that is a huge moment.
Yes.
Almost no matter what it is, if that first time that they try to do the right thing, it's a huge moment. You got to stick with it, and you got to stick with that policy. Tell them they're wrong or whatever. They're going to get grounded again or something, probably. Gabe, again, I had to sneak him out of my house from under my bed one time because I had him stored there for a while so they wouldn't find out I had a friend over. Ended up just bringing him out, and it was hell on wheels. It was terrible for it, and it kind of ruined that. And that's one thing that I picked up that I would change from my parents was primarily what my stepdad did, and he had a lot of influence over my mom for a few years when he was there. Was stick with that honesty is the best policy if you want to go that route. You definitely have to, especially the first time, maybe 2 times. Stick with it. Say, hey, I understand. You can even be like, I'm going to have to punish you. But don't fucking punish me and not my brother. Sorry, that's totally
Yeah. Right.
He
You have to-
lied. I was honest.
There's some deep wounds there still, Keith. We got.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're fucking talking about. It wasn't my fault. Yeah, no, we're good. Okay.
Moral of the story is honesty is bullshit.
It's
So just lie all the time.
no.
Yeah, totally.
No. Okay.
No.
Maybe not.
Pat says her mom is 81, and everything she said to me growing up, I realized later she was right. Have you learned that from your mom, Danielle? She said, with age, we learn so much, but young people don't listen. It's only good knowledge for ourselves. The young people not listening is something we're trying to cover because we're so limited on what we can tell and do to young people nowadays. And honestly, as much as it's brought up in the news as far as the disciplinary actions that people take and the threats, it still goes on. I think it's cut down a lot of the abusive stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really good because that had to be cut down on. But a lot of them don't listen because you have those friends that are telling you too, my mom doesn't do this, my dad doesn't do this, I can do whatever I want. And as a kid, it puts you in a really bad situation, especially as a teenager.
We call those one-uppers.
Yeah. But one-uppers make the one-downers feel like shit.
Fuck those guys.
Exactly my point. That's where I was.
I know that's one thing though. I try to tell my kids, like, I'm saying this to you because I've been through it.
Right.
Obviously I've not had breakups with girlfriends, but I still can relate to the situation. So I still get it, from just that feeling sense. My kids are at an age where they think like no other girls are ever going to come into their lives. It's the end of the world. You know what I mean? And that's
your first
a
is
tough
big.
one,
The first one's big.
Yeah, well.
And it's not something you can talk to mom about because mom, no matter how much you love mom sides with the girl. Like,
No.
even if you're not siding with the girl.
No.
No, in a teenage guy's head. Mom is a girl. Mom doesn't understand what I'm going through in this
I don't
situation.
know.
You'll cry. It's true. That is 100% true. They
No, I think
understand you're
they're-
hurt. They can talk you through that, but they don't understand the same way because you're a girl. And when a lot of times when a guy loses his first girlfriend, there are very rare exceptions to this. He hates all women briefly. He thinks women
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
Like there's a
I've
big
heard
thing
that.
taken
I've
away.
heard that.
Exactly. There's a period. I'm gonna bring up Bill for a second. Says the biggest thing dealing with a teenager is the drinking. Very true. But how many of us on the panel not drinking or smoking weed or whatever it happens to be, yet do it ourselves around them all the time?
Yeah.
How do
I
you
don't.
stop a kid if you do that? Danielle
have.
and Gabe are a little bit of an exception on there. You have a little bit of an exception. They're still young to that point, too. They're not really picking up. I don't think your daughter's an alcoholic yet, Gabe. Is that correct? She hasn't crossed that
No,
line.
only 6. So
She hasn't crossed that.
she's got a ways
But
to
this
go.
does go to Linny and Nikki on there
Yeah.
because your
I've
kids are older.
definitely dealt with it. I'm sorry, Lenny, go ahead.
No. I don't drink very much, so.
I dealt with my adult son who was staying with us, smoked weed with my now 17-year-old son. He was 14 at the time. Smoked weed with him for the first time. And I didn't find out about it for a year because brothers have each other's backs.
Yes.
They're not going to tell on each other.
After that poison trip, I ratted my brother out at every fucking turn. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but when I did find out, after the fact, obviously I couldn't change the after fact. And I can't be hypocritical because I already said I'm open about weed with my kids. However, I do remind them there is still laws. They still have to be of age. I can't stop them once they hit that age. But,
But you still want to instill the values of it because being that age, you know the harm it can end up doing if you don't control it, even if
Yeah.
you're old enough to do it. Pat says that some parents let their kids do too much. I'll get to you, Gabe, in 1 second. I used to say they don't love them enough to protect them. I don't know if you saw the very start of the show. We were talking about that the kids will hate you a lot of times for the ways you treat and interact with them, but they will love you in the future. That's one of the big things on there. Go ahead, Gabe.
Just that everybody on this panel didn't listen to their parents when it came to any of that shit. So we all found our limits individually, and those moments of spending hours and hours worshiping the porcelain god until you figured it out. Like, this is not what I want to
You're
do.
never going to stop your kids from doing any of this no matter what you say.
So
But
I mean,
it,
you can instill it as much as possible, but at the same time,
and that's the fine
that
line, though.
they have to learn. They have to
Yeah.
want
Because
or to know that limitation.
you eliminate them wanting to tell you things by telling them it's so wrong. And they do have to learn it on their own, but that's the fine line you got to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it what
part of
point?
why me and my husband both are not big alcohol drinkers is because we were raised in abusive alcoholic homes. So part of me, even though like I have a liquor cabinet, you know, we've had the same liquor in there for I don't know 3 or 4 years. It's sat in storage units. I don't even know if it's good anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, as long as it's not open, it's still good. Trust me.
Okay, that's good to know. But sometimes I live with this like internal fear. Like I veered away from alcohol because I saw the effects, you know, like the violent effects. But if my children haven't had that experience, are they going to be more inclined to want to try it, or will it not make a difference? I guess that's their lesson to learn.
That's the tough part, because
Yeah.
if you would have told me something like that as a kid, I did the absolute opposite.
I know.
You know,
know.
and then there's kids that, you know, I mean,
Who does stuff like we refer to the drinking and the weed, and Nikki, you kind of answered that a little bit. Who does anything in their regular everyday life that you hope your child doesn't pick up from you?
I mean, my
Smoke,
weed, my
cigarettes.
cigarette habits. Yeah.
Cigarettes
My
for
cigarette
sure.
habits. But my kids are always on my ass. Like, you need to quit smoking.
Yeah,
I've
we're
had them-
dinosaurs. Smokers are dinosaurs. We're a dying breed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had them steal, like, my packs of cigarettes sometimes. Little shits. But, you know, that's my only vices. Weed and cigarettes.
Pat agreed with you, by the way, saying they need to go through. It's part of growing up. It is. Pointing out with Bill, this is also learning the lesson. He went to the cider mill after a football game in high school. Alcohol poisoning. Mom said, you'll be okay. I mean, that's really what you do. Even going into jail, that's what you do. My mom was 100% let him sit in jail.
Yeah.
You know? So that taught us the
That's
lessons
my
as
mom.
well. On that.
That's my
And
mom.
another thing with your mom, your son, are you the younger sister, Danielle? My son was always in trouble because his younger sister would say he's
Unfortunately,
doing
yes.
something. How this stop was making her go ask him why he did it or said something. It made them work it out together, talk to them, communicate. You kind of got this Brady lifestyle going on that I really like there. I hate to say it kind of from this perspective, it's not always,
She
it
does.
doesn't always work so bright. Because, you know, if that happened to my brother, which it kind of has, or myself, because you're a fucking asshole and in a fist fight. There might be a little bit of difference being a brother-sister than a brother-brother combo.
Yeah.
My
I've
bro-
had
Just
my
like a
brother-
sister-sister combo, I think
It's
is
the
worse
age
too.
difference.
My brother threw a Mexican pizza at me once. It
I've
just,
broken
went-
up some fist fights.
Did you eat
No,
it? I would have ate
I was
it.
being a dick. I didn't take him to the bus station to go to work. So he threw a Mexican pizza at me. It went past me. It opened up and laid flat against the wall, and it stuck to the wall. And then just slowly dripped down. And then he tackled me in the kitchen and started like beating me up on the ground, and then we got over it. And good
Me and my
times.
brother
We
like
laugh
threw
about it.
knives at each other.
You know,
like, big time stuck in
Keith,
the wall.
the difference is with the difference why that worked out so well was because my brother is actually 6 years older than me. So I was
Well, that-
kind of like a
that's-
little child,
My
you know,
brother's
and
6
he was
years
the older
too.
child. So my
I
mom
got
tells me all the
bigger and
time my brother
stronger
loves
than him.
me, and I know that because he tells me still he loves me. He tells me all the time.
Some kids are more strong-willed.
I'm the
They
favorite
become
sister.
leaders and doers. You know, I'm gonna kind of agree with that one a little bit. They do, but don't dismiss the other people too, because
Right.
they will eventually rise up on there. And look at
Right.
it this way: we all have good stories. 100% true,
Yeah.
because these stories are a big part of everything we're doing right now.
Yeah, I always
Uh,
have to tell my older ones because my youngest, you know, their older brothers are such dicks to the younger ones. I feel so bad for him sometimes because they're such dicks to him. But you know, they're constantly razzing him because he's not the straight A student or whatever. And I'm like, you guys, you know what? He is still young and he's gonna come up behind you guys. And he's going to be making some money. He's going to be doing good in life. And you guys are going to eat your words. Watch it.
All right,
Yes.
probably the final issue I want to cross is education. Importance of education, getting in trouble in school. How do you approach these situations? Because this is really hard to not side with the school, which is a terrible place for them. For a lot of kids, it is.
Yeah.
And when they do wrong, are you siding with the school? Are you siding with them? Like I said, I was very gifted to have the mother I had. If I got in trouble with school, she'd march up to that school and say, "What did you do to him? Because he doesn't act out unless you fuck with him first."
Yeah.
And she's like, I have no problem punishing him for what he did, but what did you do?
Yeah.
Because she knew that. But how do you approach that in the education importance of college and schooling? Is that ever an issue for anybody?
You know, I'm going through this right now with Zachary because he's a senior this year. And he came to me about the conversation of college after he graduated. And I am fully open to the idea that college is not for everybody. And he said, you wouldn't be mad, would you, if I took a year off of school? He wants to go to trade school, not like a university, but he said, would you be mad if I took a year off of school and just worked and saved my money? And how can I be mad at that? If you are making an informed decision on what you're going to do with your life, if you're already thinking about that and you've got this plan in mind, I can't be mad at that. Whereas my youngest, if it was up to him, he would have dropped out of school in seventh grade and gone on to be God knows what. He wants to be a social media influencer.
Because the age of, well, that's a big thing right now is the YouTube and getting out there. Hell, we're fucking doing it right now.
I know.
which revolves that circles back to the whole football
I was
thing.
just thinking that.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of full circle where now you have these kids that think that they're going to become famous just by doing stupid shit
Yeah.
on the internet. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we didn't even need the internet. We had Jackass and stuff like that. And America's Funniest Home Videos. We had ways to try to become famous.
Exactly.
Even when we were young. What about you, Lenny? Because, Lenny, you've dealt, obviously, with the teenage years and everything like that.
With handling school and
the school and the importance of education and trying to get them through and their decision to go or not go to college.
Well, Skylar is probably the only one I can revert back to on that because the other two are a little different. Right. But he would get in trouble all the time, and most of the time I knew he was wrong, but then at the same time I would be like your mom and I would march into school and I would be like, they're like, he's not handing in his work, and I'm like, then why don't you in front of the whole class ask him for his homework? And then maybe he would hand it in, so I would kind of play both sides of the fence there. But again, look, Nikki is right. You have to go by what they kind of want to do. You have to let them kind of live their life and make some decisions and guide them along the way.
I know that.
I wish I had my brother on this show because I don't think anybody on the panel is going to relate to this. My brother kind of would. I talked to him briefly about it. Does anybody here push their kid to be something because of where it's led them? For example, Lenny, horses or getting into that, or anything they do that they think that's the career, or has a husband that tries to push them in a direction of sports or anything like that?
I had a huge with Skylar because Skylar was a very, very good football player and had the world at his fingertips all the way up until he got himself in trouble. And his dad used to push the football, and he had all the Big Ten scouts and everything. And he got himself in trouble just before his senior year, and had to they wound up kicking him off the football team. We had to switch schools. We switched schools so he could play football, and he did. And then karma's a bitch because he wanted to go back to his school and graduate because he was, Skylar in his school. Anyway, so we allowed him to just before the combines for all of the, getting to pick a college, and he was supposed to do these combines. He wound up getting mono and was unable to do the combines. Oh. And so he couldn't play football any way you look at it. So he had to then choose what he was going to do. And then we kind of let him. But his dad pushed all of that. It was all about the football. Everything was about the football. And it would have saved a ton of money in college, to get a huge scholarship. But it all in the end didn't work out.
I had mentioned that this was going to be our last thing. It's not. This is not what she wrote. but I got something else to bring up. As parents, we want the best for them to see what they should go into, but that never works. And yeah, I get that. Sometimes I think you're pushing hard, but it actually brings me to another topic based on that. And right now, this is probably the serious one, and the reason why this show is so good and we didn't touch on it, and I really want to. Suicides are at an all-time high for a lot of people right now. Teenagers, kids especially, out there. There's two main things that cause that are the leading cause of suicide. One is depression, obviously when you get locked up, and another one is actually homosexuality, or being stuck in the closet and not being able to come out. How do you discuss these situations with your kids? And I think these are really important topics to bring up before we end the show, because they're very hard topics that nobody wants to, and sometimes you push your kids to be a certain way that they are ashamed of what they are. Or in the depression sense, how do you pull them out of their room? How do you bring them out to you?
It's kind of your lifestyle, you know. I mean, we already have,
Just keep them involved, yeah.
right? We have homosexual and lesbian friends and family
Right.
that we've already sort of introduced in that manner. So it's just sort of par for the course.
Well, I think men are one of the biggest problems with the homosexual situation, especially with younger guys. Obviously, with women, a lot of it is more acceptable. With women, we know that, but guys often, fathers especially, play that role of you're not going to be that way, and that is what leads a lot of these kids to that situation. A lot of times, the mother, and I'm referring to the father being this way, the mother will not go against the dad on this, and the only input they have comes from the father. So it's so wrong, and they're such bad children. I think mothers have to interject.
See,
I think they can see the signs, and they
I
have
think
to.
this is
get-
a whole nother show.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah,
but this is
definitely.
about.
For
This
sure.
is about. This is. We're going to hit that. That's going to be coming up too. We got a lot of these, but I want to hit the conversation part, because the whole point of communicating with your children. It's one thing we've talked about in this show so far: communicating when everything is going grand and we're trying to fix things. I want to talk about when they're depressed for just a few minutes on here. Not even necessarily the homosexuality. We're just using that for an example. The other one's just straight depression, where they're buried in their room and they won't come out. And most kids and most teenagers have gone through a point of their life where they were like this.
yeah.
So those who have gone through it, what did you do? What do you think you could have done differently? And ultimately, what was the problem?
Okay, I'll start.
All right.
So you talk to them. You allow them to talk to you, and you let them know that it will not go any further if they don't want it to go any further, and you give them someone to talk to. If they allow you to get them help, because they're not going to accept help unless they want help, then you get them help, whether it be a social worker, whether it be a church, whether it be whatever it may be that they may need, then you seek out that sort of help. And
That's good,
what
but you need approachability first.
you're right. You're right. But I've been through that. I've been through it, and it is the most difficult thing that I've ever gone through, because I didn't know it was even coming.
Yeah.
I never, even in a million years, would have expected that my child was feeling that way. You know, so
A lot of times that's dismissed by a lot of parents. Like when your child puts himself in a hole, you call him a hermit, you make fun of him. And a lot of parents don't get in depth of what's going wrong.
Yeah.
They don't try to figure it out, and they need to take that step.
but you don't
and-
know what to do when it's happening to you. It
That's
feels
why I'm discussing it, because
Yeah.
we've been through it, and I think it might benefit other people who are dealing with it as well. I understand, Danielle, by the way, if it happens.
One thing I try, like, is not just when I notice they're down. I try to make it a habit to say it to them often. Like, tell me what's going on with you. If I notice that, they're just in a different mood, they might be down, I can tell something's bothering them. I try to open up the door to make them comfortable enough, to say, I realize something's different about you. I'm here to talk if you want to talk. Sometimes they will just shut
I don't
me
wanna
off.
talk about it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
But
that's
where-
typically what they do right
Yeah.
off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Here's the
that's
thing,
my
though.
cue to keep engaging and not let them withdraw. 'cause that's
Exactly
when it
where I
gets
was going.
Right.
dangerous.
Right.
Keep it up. Just because they backburner you, they push you away, they don't want to talk about it. First
Yeah.
of all, believe it or not, inside they're happy you care.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you keep that up enough and keep saying, hey, is there anything I can do? Or just try different things or put them in different situations. Try to pull out what it is. And like I said, the two issues I brought up were because of they are some of the leading causes of suicide out there for teenagers.
Yeah.
And it's the intensity mixed with firsts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
First love, first breakup,
Yes.
first failures, first successes.
Yes.
All of those things are so intense. They're so intense
Yeah.
that age is it's incredible. Plus you're going through puberty
Yeah.
to add on top of that.
Yeah.
So your range of emotions is out of control.
Yes.
And getting through that is why they, say that it's a rite of passage to get through your teenage years, because it is one of the most difficult things, even into adulthood, that you're going to get over because of all of those things.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, so you gotta make sure that they know
Has
that,
anybody here
life
been
is
that
long.
person?
oh, me, for sure.
Ben,
How
what, the
did-
depressed person?
The depressed person, yes.
Yeah.
Well, then, Gabe, how did you feel when people had? Obviously, I'm assuming because your mom, you speak highly of her. I know her. How did she obviously try to approach you? I would think, unless we're talking adult life,
Yeah.
or not. But if she didn't like,
She
what
did.
did
She
you
did.
need?
She did.
Okay, so
But
how did
I
you
was
react
also
to
the
her?
I was the teenager that said that closed my door and had a lock on it and turned up my music so loud that you couldn't hear anything else except for that, and I would sort of sink into my own world and sort of get through it by myself or whatever, which has led me to adult problems, but but she tried. But she tried at the very least.
But as an adult right now, when you're going through the situation as a kid, you don't even know what you're looking for, though you're looking for something.
Yeah.
Right.
As an adult right now, are you able to reflect back and say, this is what I wish would have been done, or this may have helped, even though you can't guarantee it would have, this may have helped? Like, what could we do if we see it happening with somebody else? Because you've been there.
Yeah, it's that emphasis on your life, as long as you try to stay healthy, it can be quite long. And this is such a minute part of it, most of which you will not remember
Right.
up until this point, because of the fact that you live so many different lifetimes, as far as school, as far as your childhood, as far as your first relationships, marriage, the kids, the work. So you have these resets, throughout your lifetime where it's just these different phases, and that one is just, in the grand scheme of things, especially when you're getting a little older. I'm 44 now. It's a speck.
I said that I try to bring that up when I've been dealing with other people. You remember when Justin Bieber was the shit? Right. He was your life. He was everything you wanted. It was just, and now it's a snap. It's gone. Yeah. Remember when you were into Pokemon so much and you couldn't? That was the only thing, or basketball all the time, whatever it happened to be. That they've gone through so many stages, and a lot of times they can think back and go, it really was a very small portion, though at that time it was everything. And that's so important to emphasize with kids, like you said, that this is very minor. It is a development period. It is a learning period. It is a mistake period. Nikki, you look really kind of out of sorts talking about this. Do you have something to add on there?
No, I'm just listening intently. I was thinking back to the topic of homosexuality.
Okay.
Because it's something that we have dealt with my children. Their dad has not come out, but there are signs definitely that exist. The children are aware of them. They've been asking for many years, and that's a tough one, because as the person who was with this man, who now has to like I'm going through my own stuff and realizing that I was with somebody who probably we weren't supposed to be together, or feeling my own sense of maybe was it my fault, to now I got to turn to the children that came from this relationship and make them comfortable when even he is not comfortable talking about it. And they are very uncomfortable. And at one point, that was one of the struggles that we had with the depression side, was because there was a lot of, there wasn't open lines of communication, and it was confusing to teenage boys who are now going through puberty, and they've got questions, but you won't answer the questions.
It puts you in a bad spot.
Definitely.
Big time, yeah.
Well, and I found myself, probably at, the worst points in my life when I probably said things, now thinking back, I probably said things, in a fit of me being hurt that probably hurt my children to hear those things, knowing it was him I was talking about. So, in fact, thinking back now and reflecting on that, I feel like I have some conversations to have with my children because, I don't ever want them to be uncomfortable.
It's a good
talking
message for
about it.
everybody out there to listen to this right now.
Yeah, I don't want them to ever be uncomfortable, and knowing that that's their dad, at some point he may come out completely. He may or may not. I don't know. But I want them to be comfortable enough to be okay with whatever may come, from the
No matter how
situation.
hard it is for you as a parent, and I know you obviously do your best to do this as well, you've got to approach these things. It's very, very important to approach them on this because they struggle not only with the homosexuality, but just issues of depression deep inside. Homosexuality is definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So far, and it rips them apart from the inside because they're not normal. They're wrong. All their friends make fun of people like that. The people in their life they know about it are not great people in their life. And with the depression stuff, it's still tearing them apart. And you have to find a way to approach. Danielle, I have a feeling you've been through a lot of this as well at some points or dealt with other people like that. What kind of advice can you give to communicate with people who are going through this depression or this pull away that you want to communicate with them? I think this is probably the most important part of the show.
Oh, well, are we talking about homosexual area or
We're
just
talking
depression
about
and
both.
all?
Well, we're talking in general about the suicide rate is up, and the two main things among teenage suicide has to do with depression and homosexuality.
Right.
Not coming out. So we're talking about the depression in general regarding that and kind of the pull away. How do you approach somebody before something like that happens to make them realize they're normal, they're okay? How do you talk to them when they feel so wrong about what they are or feel?
This kind of goes into what she was saying earlier about making sure you're there and making sure that you tell them that it's okay to talk to me and tell me I'm not going to say nothing, this and that. But you have to also let them be aware that if they are in a deep depression of they're going to harm themselves or harm other people or anything, that you do have to say something to someone else. So that way they're
Right.
aware that you are going to speak up if something is in that line. Even though it scares me when people have to say that to people, because then you think, okay, are they going to shut down? Are they going to not say nothing and then something happen? It's that risk you got to take, but always say it in case.
A lot of times, the situations like that can be stopped, but by the time we engage it enough and realize something's wrong, it's getting too late and it's spiraling out of control. And so it's the early warning signs you look for on these. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I can go with the homosexuality aspect of that. Introduce more people into their lives like that. Happy, normal, fun people. You got to point out, if you see those little signs within them, and you're just waiting for them to come out, don't do that. Make it comfortable to come out. Pat says something that I want to hit on. Totally understand it happened to me, although I feel it was in a lifetime moment, that I have beautiful children from him. I wish him the best with his life. That is a great way of looking at it. And one of the things you can always bring up, look what he gave me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it can work with the mother, too, so don't get me wrong. I just know it's more common.
Kidding.
And in those
hide.
moments, I mean, that was real. You know what I mean? Like, so whatever you produced in that time, life is always, like I said, changing and moving, and there's different phases. And in that moment, then the stars were aligned. So you got to take the best you can away from that.
Ultimately, you never want to dismiss somebody in that situation. And well, you just don't want to dismiss people in that situation. I gave you that little coughing break there, Nikki. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I was like, you're waiting for that right there. You know, this was a deeper topic, and the reason it was a deeper topic is we were kind of lighthearted on Wednesday, and we're going to be a little more light this coming Wednesday, so we kind of flipped them around this week. It's very important to pay attention to your children, but it's most important to make sure that you are receptive to your children. Because almost any child out there that acts up, that misbehaves, that does things that you think are inappropriate, they're reaching for something. They want something. And sometimes it's just to be heard, to be listened to be acknowledged. Don't always assume because your kid's acting out that they're a bad child. They need something. They need you. And maybe look at your own life and realize, wow, I'm kind of backburnering my own children, even though you don't mean to, because maybe you have so much stuff going on with work, and they're all legitimate problems you have. But maybe you feel like maybe you are backburning them, and maybe they see it more than you do, because you are their idol and hero in life. You're the person they look up to. You're raising them. They want to be like you, believe it or not. They want to follow in your footsteps. So every time you ignore them, a huge part of their life is missing for those moments. So when they have something, if you see signs of issues going on with them, try to pull it out of them. And if you can't directly ask them, put them in situations where it can naturally come out. One of the things this show does, and it's happened to a lot of people in the chat, is we're putting the people who are watching these shows into our situations that makes them open up about their own. Bill is a prime example of that. He said he's let so much more out on this show. As much as we make fun of Bill, we love Bill. He's let so much more out because he's in a situation he's comfortable relating to people like that. So bring people around that can relate. Make your life alter a little bit to suit their life. Give them an open outlet. You have no idea how much it's going to help them in the future. Don't be afraid to punish your kids. Don't be afraid to have your kids hate you for a moment. But always let them know that no matter how much they hate you, you love them. And you are there for them. Because they will look back on those moments, as everybody I believe here has, and everybody in the chat, and everybody watching, and millions of people who are not watching, they look back and say, wow, they did what was best for me. Bill said on a show recently, he said on this show too, but his mom became his best friend. That happened because he was able to reflect back on everything she did, the way she talked, and he learned that though he didn't like everything that was said, he was a better person because of it. And all you teenagers out there, everybody that's struggling, give us a door. Give us a window sometimes. Give us something to communicate, because as much as you want to be understood, we want to understand you. We want to know what you're going through, and we want to be there for you. We can't be there for everything. You're going to be, defiant just based on the fact that you're teenagers. For no other reason. He's going to tell you to do something you're not going to. But don't be afraid to talk with somebody, because the last thing any parent ever wants to do is hate you. So, simple enough, they're not going to hate you. They're going to still love you, and they're the one person ever that's going to be able to talk to you about anything and still be there for you till their dying day. Today we were talking about parent-child communication, if I didn't make it obvious. And it was how you handle the different tasks of reaching your child, and how does the child reach the parent. And it all boils down really to just do it. Just reach out, just try, and try any way you can to get them to interact and engage in your life. However, our next topic coming up on Wednesday, happy birthday to me. It is a birthday show. It's a founder special. This is actually, my birthday is Wednesday, so we're doing this for fun. A few different things we can do on here, of course. We're going to talk about me. Ask anything you want. You can ask me about absolutely anything, even just common life issues that you're having problems with. I'm going to talk to you because that is what I like to do. So my birthday gift that you all can give me is to let me help and talk to you. Because that is the ultimate gift. I also want to hear about your birthdays, your favorite parties, the favorite events, what you did. I want to hear about your past experiences. I want all that too. But I want you to literally ask me anything and put me on the spot to answer anything, and I will. Even if it's nothing to do with me, it's helping you. That's what I love. So if you want to get me a gift, ask me some questions on Wednesday. All right? I don't care what it is. I am probably one of the most diverse people you will literally ever meet. And I hate to say that because... yeah, we got a really diverse panel and people who deal with everything, but me, I don't give a fuck about anybody. I'm just like, I'm going to tell you how I think about it, and I'm open and non-judgmental. So do that. That's my birthday gift. Other than that, enjoy. I want to thank everybody for being here. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to Ear Shoulder Voice on social media. That's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, and that's all of them. LinkedIn. That's the one I'm forgetting now because I just added it. And LinkedIn. It's on there. So please remember to do that. I want to thank everybody on the chat. This show goes nowhere without you. We had some great input on the chat. We need you every single show to be there, engaging with us. You help carry the conversation, and we're ultimately here for you to hopefully relate to, learn, and all that. So thank you very much, everybody. I am Keith Liffen with Ear, Shoulder, Voice. Lenny, it's been great having you on here tonight.
Love you guys.
Thank you, Bill, by the way, before he says it, and thank you, Pat, but thank you, Bill. I want to point that out before he says something about that. Gabe, absolutely great insight. We're all dealing with kids. I'm the only one who actually is not, but has in the past, that's not currently dealing with them. Thank you, Gabe.
Thank you.
Your daughter's going to be fantastic. I look at everything you're going through with your daughter right now, and you are a very strong father and a great man, and she's going to be so appreciative of it, and I'm glad that people like you in the world.
We'll see.
Right now, maybe not so much,
Right
but
now.
she will.
That's the thing, right?
Nikki, your constant struggles and what you've gone through in life definitely reflects to how much you can relate to other people's situations. Your kids, for sure, you are definitely somebody that every time I talk to, I'm like, you really try your best to be the best kind of mother you can be, and I appreciate that and the way you engage. Thank you for
Oh, that
being
means
on
a
here.
lot. Thank you for having me.
Danielle, I'm very jealous kind of your relationship, not because of my mother. I loved my mother. We were best friends, but just I don't see that very often, and I love that you guys are so happy with each other and help each other out right now. You're a very good source for how to communicate with others, especially children. I appreciate everything you said on this panel today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Danielle. So that's it. That's pretty much our show. That was the longest show we've ever done. But you know
I
what?
know.
Bill's right. When it comes to serious topics, we might let run of them some a little longer because it's important to get some stuff out there.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. You all have a great night. Thank you for joining
You
us
too.
at Ear, Shoulder, Voice.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
night.
Bye-bye.
What an enlightening show.
I love that music. It reminds me of like PBS Kids or something.
It scares Lenny.
Danielle's still eating.
She's always eating. You know her mom. She's always
I'm
eating.
just beginning. Just beginning.
I know. I'm such a bad like wife, mom. I still haven't fed my family because we got back so late from tree hunting, and then I had to jump right on here. So they're all
McDonald's
like,
girl. Thank you, by the way.
Do what?
Thank you for jumping on.
Oh,
I don't remember
God,
who
I
signed
mean-
up or who didn't. We only had 2 that didn't cancel on us.
Oh,
And
I
I
was
didn't remember
pretty
if it
sure
was-
I signed up. Of course.
I didn't remember if it was you or Lenny, so I didn't know
I like
who
how
was
you're
actually
like,
signed up.
you know, we're gonna take who we can. Let's call Danielle. Thanks.
Well,
take
the message
whatever.
you saw, we're going to take who we can, was still only a selected member of panels that we have, panel members on here.
Okay.
There's only like 5 people in there.
I'm like,
But just 'cause
sure,
we
yeah,
had
I
to
feel
fill 2
greatly
spots.
appreciated.
And then I texted you before I did that, so okay.
I wish
Okay.
my son would have stayed on, but I think he was nervous. I think
He
his
can be.
nerves got the
Hopefully, as
best
we
of him.
grow, we're going
Yeah,
to get
it's-
more teens, more kids that want to partake in these, because I think their input is very valuable in a lot of this.
Yeah.
I think it would have been good when we say certain things that they are able to counter with, but this is not what I'm looking for, you know.
Yeah.
Something that we can understand, because nobody ever like tries to see. Well, people do, but rarely do people try to see it from both directions.
I feel like I probably could have if I looked deep enough into it. Because, you know, if my mom would agree with this, I kind of act like a teenager still and think
Oh,
that
I
I am
agree with
woman.
that.
So I probably could, you know, yeah. Why not?
I think in some respects I could probably relate myself, you know, if I dug deep enough. However, you know, I'm just not in that sort of mind frame anymore in life. So my experiences will
Well, that's
not
why
let
it's so
me
hard.
see it clearly, you know.
That's why it's so hard. You
Yeah.
all going to be here. I mean, I want as many people that want to be here, by the way, on Wednesday.
Hey, is my mom still on here? I can't tell.
I
I'll
can't
pop
either.
in.
Oh, well, Mom, thanks for the meatloaf, by the way.
You want me to make you a cake, Keith?
Well, it's going to be hard to eat, but
Why? I can bring it to you.
you could, and I'll light the candles for myself, and we'll do it right here on the air.
Yeah.
And then I'll,
Right.
put a little smudge over each one of
Happy
your
birthday,
faces.
merry-go-round.
Merry-go-round. There you go. That looks
I
like a
never,
slightly
ever
dangerous
celebrate my
merry-go-round.
birthday. I never do anything
Yeah,
for it, so
definitely.
it's kind of cool.
It'll train you for NASA.
I don't do anything for my birthday, so this will be cool.
See, we never usually do anything for my birthday. I always wish that somebody thinks to do something for my
I mean,
birthday.
since a kid, I never did. I
Really?
never really did,
Oh.
yeah. I've never had a birthday party. Gabe knows this.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we still sort of
We
come
hung
over.
out, but I
yeah,
never
you'd
had,
come
like, a
over
birthday
our
party.
house and that type of thing.
Yeah, my mom would always do whatever she could, but yeah, so I just kind of let it go, and I'm good with it.
Aw.
Totally
As
good
an
with it.
adult, though, I always get those FOMO moments, like if I'm out, you know, like at the bar with friends or whatever, and you see this big, huge group of people with their friends having a birthday party, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I wish I had friends like
that's
that.
where I'm at now. I'm like, I really hope, like, literally my 40th birthday at the Kit Kat Club, they all forgot.
Aw.
It was
Yeah,
there.
but you've
Oh,
had
there's a-
some bashes at your house that none of us
Not for a
have ever
birthday.
had. Yeah,
Not for my
but
birthday.
doesn't matter.
The thing
I
is,
give
it's me
birthdays.
throwing the party for everybody else,
Right.
my bashes.
Yeah.
I want somebody to do it for me sometime.
Yes.
And they forgot they brought me a piece of French bread with a candle in it. And I'm like,
But sometimes,
it's my most
if
memorable
other
cake.
people's don't do it, you just gotta throw that party for yourself.
Yeah.
Which I try to do. I definitely try to do that.
I think I threw a 39th birthday party for myself.
Aw.
Or no, a 29th birthday for myself.
I didn't, you know what, I want to say I didn't expect anything for it or anything like that, but the back of my mind was going, wait, this is a big one.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
something in the back of my mind. And it just didn't happen.